In three, two, one. Welcome to Improve with Joe, Solo Edition. Here we have the new backdrop, courtesy of a San Francisco weed shop. It's been along me on this crazy journey for the past 8 years, and I thought it was very fitting to bring it in on this new journey that I'd like to kind of introduce y'all to and talk about. Again, my name is Joseph Peluso. This is Improve with Joe, and today we're going to get political. Very excited about this because, as you know, if you've been watching the 35 videos so far, I've done a lot of fitness stuff, some political, some podcast, improvement, and today is really going to be the first quote-unquote political podcast. While I've talked about some politics before, I try to stay out of, even in normal life, I try to stay out of one side or the other, because I'll make this very clear. I don't like either parties. I'm neither Republican, not Democrat, not a Libertarian, not a Greene. Really a party of the people. But really just wanted to kind of introduce myself today, kind of talk about politics, kind of talk about what I view in some regards in terms of what's going on, in terms of who I am, what my goals are, and how all this is going to fit together. And obviously, you're a big part of that. So if you haven't already, subscribe, like, share, comment, leave some feedback. It does really help the channel, and it helps my heart, my poor little heart. No, really, I do appreciate every comment, every like. This has been an interesting journey, and thank you very much, Abby, my lovely girlfriend, who's been supportive throughout all of this. Only thinks I'm crazy sometimes. But yeah, so anyone else hear about Kamala Harris being the VP pick? I think it's pretty cool. Hopefully some people do. I've gotten a few comments posted today on a couple YouTube videos, and there was mixed review. I'm sure a lot of people have been reading articles about it or heard about it at this point. It's kind of a big deal for Joe Biden to pick a black Asian African American woman. Obviously, he didn't pick her for just those reasons, but obviously, it probably played a big factor to it. But just like anything, your views and who you support and what you do, I think will speak more for her than just her labels, which people, people slap on labels on anything. And I think that's sometimes a good thing because everyone has categories, everyone groups together in certain ways. But sometimes labels are really bad, like Republican or Democrat, or war on drugs or war on terror. I mean, obviously terrorism is a bad thing. I'm not disputing that. But wars in general, the divisive nature, this kind of I'm right, you're wrong, and if you don't agree with me, then fuck you kind of thing, not really a great thing. But overall, I think Kamala Harris is a pretty good pick to balance out Joe Biden. One, she's 54, he's almost 90. Kidding, he's like 78. I think it'll be a good thing. We'll see. It'll definitely make for a very interesting ticket between Trump and Pence, and then Biden and Harris. It really is going to be an interesting next 30 or 83 days. So that's a lot of what I'll be talking about today, or just introducing a little bit and talking about it more as the time goes on. There's a lot of political pundits that you can go to for political analysis and review of what her campaign policies have been or what their policies will be, what she's done before, and we'll talk about that, of course. But today is really just kind of the introduction to all this, kind of getting my feet wet and talking about this, because really I don't want to divide in any way. My political philosophy is a party of the people. It's a centrist policy that would apply to as many people as possible, not the extremes. Because honestly, that's what our party system and political party system today has been mostly about, and it's shown that over time it's become more and more divisive. Congress, the Senate, basic Republican, basic Democrat, over time has become more radical, more extreme to the left, more extreme to the right. And unfortunately, that's what draws people in at this point. Well, obviously, Republicans and Democrats still want to have the big tent. They're talking about the large tent they have because they're accommodating to everyone. They want to bring everyone in. But unfortunately, by appealing to extremes, they don't have as big of a tent as they think they do. And guess where the biggest tent is? Right in the middle. So I think in the future, this is a lot of what I'm going to be basing my ideology, my political actions, my rhetoric, all of my, future podcasts and introductions and my conversation with people is going to be based off the fact that we're not all going to be able to agree all the time, but if we can make it a choice to try and agree as much as possible, whether or not it's about education, whether or not it's about religious freedom, whether or not it's about certain, just name any political topic, and I'll throw up a few later, and we'll get into that later, next podcast and such. But really, anything you can show over time that's become more and more divisive. So yeah, party of the people, politics of the center, centrist, whatever you want to call it. That's what this channel is going to be. That's going to be the discussions I'll have. And yeah, super excited for that. Over time, I'll get better and better. I'll be able to breathe without, but that's part of the process. I'm not a naturally eloquent speaker. I'm getting better at it over the years, I think. And this nice mic has helped me sound better than just a tin can, talking to a tin can. Eventually, we'll have a camera, all that good stuff. But right now, that's what it is. Really excited to bring you this message, my opinion. It's definitely developed over time. I don't think it's unique, but it's definitely been something that has been forming over the years from different experiences, different interactions with people, both positive and negative. A lot of just education, a lot of YouTube videos. I've been watching a bunch of that. There's a lot of different informational YouTube channels that you can watch. And really, there's so much information available to anyone. Anyone with internet connection, you have the information of the entire world. The cumulative knowledge of every single person that's come before you is available to you if you have internet or access to a public library which has internet. So, that's a pretty powerful thing, and that's something that should be advocated more over time. Just in a conversation with my parents over dinner last night, we were talking about how generational changes and what fathers and mothers knew as a part of their generation affect how kids grow up. And whatever your belief is in terms of who the parents should be or how they should raise, the fact is the ability to have the additional information, whether or not it comes from studies or certain experiences or the community, whatever it is, the accessibility to that additional information gives parents a better choice, better understanding, better idea about what to do and what choices to make when raising their children. Because really, when it comes down to it, America is founded on freedom of religion, ability to practice anything that you want to do, pretty much. First Amendment, Second Amendment, even though that was reinterpreted later, you have a bunch of rights, Bill of Rights. Look it up. In America, we have to have that. That's a core fundamental of who we are, and really, that's what we need to focus on moving forward, is the ability for everyone to do that. Not just the majority groups, not just the people who have the most money. And this goes to something I mentioned before about having a political bubble, or a personal bubble, or a religious bubble. And your bubble shouldn't infringe upon someone else's bubble. And if you can do that, then you solved everything. That's the key to utopia right there. And there's been multiple people throughout history who have thought they've had utopia, and I by no means have a solution that will create a utopia at all. But I think that if we move forward together with unity and more agreement than what we've had before, because who really likes being divisive? Who likes hating the conversation that you have with your parents or family, estranged or not, over Thanksgiving dinner, over any dinner? No one really enjoys that. No one likes all these protests. No one likes this division that we have. So, wrapping it back up, this is what the channel is going to be about, and I'm excited to bring the content for it and kind of develop it and learn more about it and have the kind of conversation, whether or not it's going to be on Twitter, Discord, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, in person, over the phone, through text, by email, through Morse code, or by smoke signals. I'm looking forward to having that conversation with people in the future and getting to know people and them getting to know me, because in the future I want to be a public service representative and help people and change the world, because it sounds so lofty, but why the hell not do it? And this YouTube channel, this Improve with Joe concept, whether or not it's personal training or the podcast or in-person communication, that's pretty much what it comes down to. So, with that summary, I want to talk about one topic, and that is Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is the new congressional representative of Georgia's 14th. Is the new representative of Georgia's 14th congressional district. She just won a runoff election, pretty much by a landslide, and there's positives and negatives with everything. I think you would call her an ultra conservative. She's definitely on the far right, believes in true conservative policies, but there's a couple things that are a little concerning. And I'm not saying she's a bad person. She's a mother. She's a wife. I'm assuming a decent general person. But there's just a couple things I wanted to highlight in this first podcast that you might not be aware of. And if you're in that 14th congressional district in the northwest of Georgia, maybe this is new information to you, or maybe it's why you voted for her. So, for one, she's kind of a racist. And she kind of supports this conspiracy theory called QAnon. And if you've never heard about it before, pretty much states that Trump is fighting to get rid of these underground pedophile ring that exists in our society. And we'll get into a lot of details later. But basically, it's a baseless conspiracy theory, and this woman got elected because of it. And it just doesn't seem like a great thing to be doing in the future. And one thing I'll advocate for over time. So that's enough of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I know she doesn't need to wrap up the whole thing. But it just kind of highlights a point that, and even not to reproduce Joe Rogan, but he talked about it today. And the fact is, politicians get elected by their charisma. They get elected by how they can catalyze their base and how many people they can get to just support what they're saying. And obviously, that's an important part. You have to be charismatic. You have to be able to lead people. But how about we start having a skills test or an abilities test or emotional intelligence test? Certain things that have numerically show, okay, this person is fit for office. Let's say this situation happens. How are they going to be able to handle that? Or this crisis happens and there's a plague, or there's a drought, or there's food crisis, or there's a lot of refugees coming. Obviously that plays into what their political opinion is. But I just think it'd be an important thing in the future for us to kind of talk about in terms of what are the qualifications to be a politician. And for me, that's definitely something I'm going to be looking into my own life, in terms of what's going to qualify me down the road to be a politician. Making a YouTube channel and talking to a camera is not going to qualify me to be a politician. If I become a lawyer, if I become a public servant and, help fix the homeless problem in Atlanta, if I do this or that, that actually benefits people and shows that I'm qualified and responsible and mature and, able to judge everyone fairly and then maybe that'll show that I'm qualified to be it. But sometimes some people are not, and that is a personal decision, I think. But I think like any personal decision, it can be informed by logical choice and reason and some sort of generic equal for everyone test or evaluation or whatever word you want to call it. But yeah, that just definitely was on my mind today. It was very interesting. Made a couple comments on a couple posts and got a variety of feedback from that. Thank you, 2 new subscribers who joined today, or 3 new subscribers who joined today. So yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting process. I think it'll be a lot of fun to learn new things, present them to you, have this conversation, and to learn as we go. Because the one thing I know is that I know nothing. And I think that's going to be a generally good perspective to have as I go throughout this process, as I talk to people, as I learn and get better, both as a person, as a potential future representative, potential public servant. I kind of take that from my dad. He was a cop for 25 years. And there's certain things that have instilled in me from that I feel that need to give back, to kind of help others. And I've been figuring that out, how to do that over the years. I haven't been crazy charitable. I haven't, volunteered my time all the time or anything like that. But over time I'll learn, I'll grow, and together we'll figure it out. So that's 15 minutes right there. Just wanted to wrap it up, say thank you for joining in on this short Improve with Joe podcast, the political edition, the first one. Not sure. I don't think I'll change the name. I think Improve with Joe is just going to be the catch-all. It's going to be fitness. It's going to be improvement related. It's always going to have some sort of improvement theme to it. Obviously politics, some, just random facts that I find, different. Eventually I want to get into just being able to draw. That's a thing I've always wanted to do. So whether or not be animation or just, drawing comics or something like that, that'll be integrated into it. Ooh, good math word there. But yeah, thank you. Any likes, shares, subscribes, feel free to leave me any honest, brutal feedback in terms of what you think about it, in terms of what direction this is going to take. Then yeah, thank you for joining and thank you for improving with Joe.